That's all I've got. So moving on to the magical.
I want to get through this desperately because I want to start something new when you're gone.
When I'm gone.
Yeah, when you're gone.
I'm gonna be gone. Hopefully I'll make it back.
I'm thinking we might do something like a little sew-along.
Oh, that'll be fun.
A little sew-along project while you're gone.
Usually, like, you can't wait for me to leave. You're like, leave, be gone.
Get yourself out of here, friend. We got stuff we need to get done. Back to this is referring to the stuff we've been scanning in. I'm going to do a brief overview. Brent, I'm going to give this to you. I want you to scan in. Let's see, what haven't we done yet? Did we do the tulip yet? I want to be able to build this thing. So
I don't think we've done the tulip.
We're going to do the tulip. We're going to bring in a circle, and we're going to do this guy too.
Do you want me to do them all at once? Or
No, I do not. Why? And that's a good point, though. The reason I don't do them all at once is because what I've been trying to get you to think about is building a component library. If I scan them in all at once, I don't have them as individual components.
Yes.
And I want them as individual components. And that's why I'm having Brent scan them in one at a time. Because I anticipate using them again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
So, while they're working that out, this was a pattern on a beautiful quilt someone's working on where these go all over the quilt. These things does, and this person happens to have a luminaire, and her goal was to not have to do this by hand. Her goal was to have her luminaire do it. So that's what started my head spinning. Yes, can I have just scanned in the entire? Let me turn it over and go this way. Could I have just scanned in the entire applique, like this one? And then set it all up and did it all at once? Yes, I could have. Definitely could have.
But then you'd have to scan in each individual applique.
And I'm thinking they used a few components, like the components on the sheet. They used a few components over and over and over again. So why can't I just create those 4 components and then lay them out the way I need to lay them out? One of the things that you could do, too, is use this for layouts.
Yeah.
You literally could scan this in as your background just so you could help do the layout. But I'm not going to. I'm just going to say, yeah, that looks good.
All right, so we're just going to scan this in.
We're going to
go to My Design Center.
Yeah, we're going to scan in what? The tulip? We'll do this fairly quick. Okay.
I'm just going to scan the whole thing in, and we'll break it down after that.
Okay.
So we're going to do a line design.
Why did you choose that? Remind them.
We're doing
a lot of people forget. They can't. That screen makes them freeze.
Okay.
Freeze.
So we're just when we hit scan here, image scan is just going to scan it in, make it a background image. An illustration design will scan it in and try to add color to everything. A line design is going to scan it in and then put our outlines in there for us.
Yeah. Think about it when you, like I said, each of these has to be a closed shape for what we're doing. I traced them from here on there to get a cleaner, blacker image. But
now keep in mind if you do the image scan, you can always
the background scan.
Yeah, but you can always later add the line in illustration design, but it's an extra step.
Yes.
By going straight to line design, because I know that's what I'm doing, we're just going to
It is literally going to put a line around whatever we identify. It's automatically going to say they want this to have a line around it.
Yeah, it's going to save us. It's going to save us a step.
Mm-hmm. I use image scan when I'm trying to get a background image that I am going to trace from.
Yes.
That's when I use image scan.
Yep.
I have something on a block, like Diana, this one's for you, a star. And I want to turn that into and he does have a voice. I want to turn it into a boundary for quilting.
Yep.
I'm going to use image scan because I don't want it to bring in any data about what's on my block. I just want to be able to see it so I can create the star by drawing it myself. Line design, think of it as I've got a black and white image like from a coloring book or in this case an applique thing. It's strictly lines.
And so what?
I want it to create the lines for me. I don't want to have to chase it. I could trace it, but I don't need to trace it, so why trace it?
Yes, and so the line design, this screen wouldn't have come up if we're just doing an image scan. It would go straight.
Correct.
So this is the line design screen. So all I'm doing now is I'm cropping out because we're going to do that
Because
tulip.
the image scan just gives us a background photo to look at.
Yes.
Line design is going to actually create the lines around that tulip.
And so we just.
I don't have to draw it. It's
Yep.
drawing it. That's
Yep.
the big difference. I do not have to draw it.
Now,
It draws
did you
it.
want that in a running stitch or a satin stitch?
We want a running stitch because we want to save it as a placement stitch first.
So it's going to default to a satin stitch / zigzag down here, and we're going to save that now as a running stitch instead. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to hit OK.
See, I didn't have to draw it.
Yep. And so now we're just going to hit
Return.
retry because we just we changed the stitch, so it's just going to redo it. And
Oh, I see. And set.
that we're going to set that, and I'm just going to make a quick adjustment to this because if you look closely,
That's the background.
the hand is what I want to move. There we go.
The hand allows you to pan your design around, which is what he's doing right
Yep.
now. See how the hand is blue? This is another thing trips people up in Design Center. When that hand is blue, it's turned on, which
Yes.
means anything else he presses isn't going to work.
Yes.
So many people go, okay, now I'm going to set the line, and no, you're not, because the hand is turned on.
Yep. So I want to turn
So
the hand off.
Pay attention to the color of your hand.
Of your button. So now I'm going to come. So if you look at this, I've got that little wispy bit there, and I'm just going to come back over here
Oh,
to.
good point.
So I'm just going to come over here to my eraser,
He's going to use his eraser to clean up his image.
and I'm going to make a giant eraser because this is how I like to do it.
Everybody does something. This is where, by the way,
And so
he's
you-
using his honker finger and a round eraser. I would have my mouse attached, and I'd be using a square eraser.
Well, the reason I went so
Different
big,
strokes for
yeah. Well, I'm
different
just doing it real
folks.
quick because we're showing it on here.
Well, my point is there's more than one way to
Oh,
do
yeah.
it.
But watch what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to go. Up
There's
to
also
80.
a stylus on the side of your machine that you can use besides your big honky finger.
And so the reason I like to go so big is so that it's bigger than my finger.
Yeah,
And
so
then
you
I
can
can-
see when it
Yeah,
hits.
and then I can bring it, just kind of bring it into the edge.
All
there.
right, beautifully done.
Yeah, it's close
Beautifully done. I must have
Okay.
drawn it like. Oh, I did draw it like that actually. If you
So-
look at my drawing, that's exactly how my tulip looks.
And then the other thing we're going to do, we always like to double check, make sure that we have a closed shape. So I'm going to
Yes.
come here to the fill.
This is very important because if
Yep.
you don't have a closed shape, you don't have an applique, folks.
Yeah, and so you see that that's filled. So we know that we have an applique there.
And that could represent your fabric
Yep.
if you need to.
Yep.
Okay, so
So is that all you want me to get for
for
this one?
now, that's
So I'm
all
gonna
I
hit-
want right now.
so I'm gonna-
Yeah, look how easy.
So I'm just going to save that to the computer.
What he's saving to memory is the Design Center tulip. The reason he's saving it, and this is so important, is so we can go back to this tulip and we can modify it.
Yep.
And we're gonna want to modify it
Yep.
because we're gonna want to give it a satin stitch to create our final applique stitch.
Yes. And that's why I always save it at this point because we can still go back and change all the stitches and stuff, but I want to save it so that we have that basic
Yep.
shape that we've done.
And he can save it on the machine or the USB stick.
Yep. And so that I'm just going to, we're good.
We're good.
Now, like we talked about last week, if I wanted to, I could do a bunch of test stitch outs with these
Oh, I
different
just
pitches.
got rid of your test
I'm not
stitch,
worried about it,
too.
yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I'm going to hit set.
In this case, because it's a running stitch, it's talking about the length of that running
Yep.
stitch.
All right, so there's that.
Okay, that's cool.
You want me to save it?
Oh, to embroidery? Sure.
Yeah. Well, we'll just save it to the embroidery side of it. Okay.
You have to hit embroidery to save it. You just saved it again in Design Center.
Oh, that's true. I did. All right.
Now, the difference between those two saves, this tricks people up too. They'll forget to save it in Design Center. They'll head over to Embroidery Center, and then they'll go, oh, shucks, I want to take that same tulip and make it satin stitch. And I go, well, you should have thought of that before.
Because you didn't save it.
Because you didn't save it, you can no longer modify it in Design Center. You could scan it in again and create it, go through those
Yep.
steps again. But the beauty of saving it in Design Center is you're saving it without the actual PES format being created. It is a Design Center format. It is not PES over here. That's what allows us to play with it.
Yes. 'cause-
Once you go to embroidery mode, No.
Yeah, if you're it's saved as the
It's a
embroidery mode,
PS.
the stitch information has been saved. You can't change it from a running stitch to a satin stitch,
No.
and any of that type of stuff. Because once it's saved as PES, that information has been written in
It's
stone,
gone.
so to speak.
It's gone.
All right.
So let's go back to Design Center and make a satin stitch version of this guy.
All right. So let's just go back home. We're gonna start.
That's one way to do it.
How would you have done it?
Go to my Design Center on the return. If you hit return,
Oh,
you can
okay.
go back to my Design Center.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
all right. It works too. It works. When in doubt, go home. That's what I say to people. When
And
in
so-
doubt, head home.
Now on a Dream Machine, you're gonna pull it out of memory a little bit differently, but on a Luminary, you just grab this guy, and there's our tulip, and we're gonna
See
hit
the shapes we've been working on?
yeah, and we're gonna hit OK. And so now we want to change that to a satin stitch, correct?
Correct.
So that's already up here as a satin stitch, but I like to also change the color so I know that the change took place.
That's also important because you want your machine to stop
Yes.
in between your tack down and your placement stitch and your satin stitch.
Yep. And then I'm also going to I'm just going to hit the paint bucket, which is my fill. So now when I tap the line, everything turns red.
Perfect.
So that is now a satin stitch, and we're going to hit next. Now,
Nice.
the sample that we did now, where did we put that?
You want me to go get it? I'll go get
Well, I'm
it.
just going to use it for a reference
I
because
know.
it will be helpful right
It
here.
was so ugly I tossed it.
Oh, well, it's... All right, so if you remember last week, we did this...
Rescued.
Yeah, we did this little...
I guess I shouldn't have done that.
It's all right.
I'll save it in here.
But we did this little stitch out where we calibrated to see what we like best. So this right here is the default, that really thin one. Do we want something that thin? I am thinking...
No, I don't like them that thin.
So what are you thinking? Probably the one... Or do we want to go...
I would do this one.
Yep. So that's why we did this. So we can look at this now. We can see that, and we can say, you know what, we like this thickness better. So that, if you watched last week's video, you'll see that we stitched all these out. We just...
Typically, I'm set on millimeters, and I like to choose around a 3 millimeter. If I'm doing a satin stitch, I tend to do about a 3 millimeter
Yeah.
satin stitch. Gives me wiggle room on the edge of the
Yes.
fabric. That's why.
And that's and you can stitch. And we did a kind of a stitch out, so we can see what these actually look like on fabric
Yeah.
when we make the setting change.
Another point, me personally, when I'm using satin stitch on my applique, I do not use any fusible, which is why I like the satin stitch, because I don't like to put fusible in my product.
Just a second. Oh, Riley has the phone. I was like, nobody has the phone. It's one of those days. It's probably my dad calling because it didn't answer his cell phone.
So if I'm doing a
Is it my dad?
decorative stitch or a blanket stitch, then I am going to use a fusible like Heat and Bond Light or a new product I want to get to try out. Maybe you all know about, but I'm just learning about. There's a Heat and Bond Feather Light.
I think I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, I need to try that because I'm not a fan of adhesives. I think they do change the...
Yep.
But anyway, so I choose like a 3 millimeter because I don't want to put any fusible in my applique. Boy, did I go.
Okay. All right, so, but like we were saying last week, we covered how to kind of make your own little test stitch to see what that looks like. And we've decided, looking at our test stitch from last week, that we want a 0.160.
Okay.
We like that.
We did.
Okay. And then we're just
Well,
gonna
I did.
We're just gonna hit set then.
And I like the default density of 0%.
Yeah. And now I didn't save that again in Design Center because I don't need to. What? Do I?
Yeah, you do.
Why?
Because if I
All
want to
right,
pull
I'll
up the
save it.
tulip.
Here,
Okay, this is great. He said, why do I need to save it? Because I have tulips out of my rear end here.
I know, but
I don't want to keep doing that. I don't want. The whole point of me building components is so I can just go, bring me a tulip.
yeah, but we're gonna save it on the embroidery side with the satin stitch in it because the information on the information in the Design Center isn't gonna save the stitch information, or is it?
It's going to save that it's
Okay.
a satin stitch.
Okay, fine.
Brent.
I just saved it. We're good.
Okay. How'd you just save it? You went out.
Oh, now you got me wondering.
Yeah. I was lying. I can't go back from there.
Well, if you do add, you can go back a different way.
Oh, maybe that was it. Maybe that was it.
All right, so I
Yeah,
didn't
see,
save
he
it.
didn't save it.
Okay, we'll save
This
it.
is the, but, and I know Brent's thinking, why do I need to save it? Because I don't want to have to do what he just did again and again and again
But once
and
we
again.
save it with the satin stitch on the embroidery side, we can pull it out of the memory pocket there with the information instead of having to come into Design Center, is what I'm saying. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Okay,
Did I just do... No, I didn't. We want to change it
but
to
I
1.6.
can't modify him. Well,
Yeah, you're not going to be able to modify the stitch, but we already have the shape is what I'm saying. We've already
Okay.
saved the shape.
all right, all right.
But I'm going to save this to memory.
That's not how I do it. That's not how
That's all right.
I build my component.
That's
library,
fine. That's fine. That's fine.
but You're not
We're
wrong.
going to do it your way. We're
You're
going to do
not
it your way.
wrong. You're not.
We have it saved.
You're sorta wrong,
we
but
have it
you're not
saved in
wrong.
both places now.
Eddie, that looks like you're playing with something that comes out of a cat's butt.
All right, so that's been saved. What other components
Okay.
do you want to do?
All right, let's go back to scan mode. I want to get you to bring in the little line that goes in the center of the tulip.
All right, so we're going to go back up here. The little, which one's that? Is that weird little square thing?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to come back up here and we're going to do our line
Now,
image again.
the reason why I want to do this one too is to refresh your memory on I'm having him scan in that little guy here. Well, I'll get it. That little guy. And the shape I drew includes a piece of fabric that's going to go underneath the tulip. So I think it was 2 weeks ago, guys, I showed you how to get rid of stitches you didn't need. And Brent, we're going to get rid of some of the stitches we don't need.
This is good.
Not the placement stitch, though. The
placement
placement stitch is the full Monty.
So that's we're going to save that one first then.
Right, exactly. Now here's a good example of why
Yeah,
I
this-
build
yes.
components. Because after I build this with a plate, and why do I need the placement stitch? Let me remind you, the whole idea of this is also to create cut files from our placement stitches. If I don't have a full applique shape, I don't have a cut file. Doesn't exist. So I have to, and I have to know where to place the little bugger. So we did this with the stem.
Yep. So now if we come back over this over here, we're back here, but that shape right there, that little square, that's going to be that same portion of the tulip that.
It sort of looks like a wonky diamond.
Yeah. But that's the portion that we're going to isolate that because that's
Yeah.
the shape we want to play with.
Yeah, and then we'll do this and then we'll put it together. And we'll show them how to create the cut lines.
Yep. Okay, so there's that, and we're just going to retry so it applies our stuff.
And
Yep. Wet set. And then we're going to put that in memory.
what that button does is it turns off our background,
background
image.
image.
'Cause I wish they would have that button when we're in the embroidery design center after we do a scan. Brother, if you're listening, it would really be nice to turn off my background image. I want to scan it. I want to use it for placement, and then I want it to disappear. Right now, especially in the Dream Machines, I gotta go all the way into settings to erase that background image,
rather than
just press a button to say, basically dim it. I would love to see that same button over in embroidery. Just saying, brother. Maybe with the Luminaire 3 we'll have that. There was a big to-do. What could they possibly come out with on the Luminaire 3 that we don't already have?
Are they coming out with Luminaire 3?
Well, there's rumors.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be a software upgrade. I can't see them.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
There's rumors. And everybody's like, what could they possibly add to this
They'll add
machine?
something that it's going to be one of
Really?
those.
I
Yeah.
can think of a few things, and one of them is that.
It's going to be it's going to be all software though that you'll be able to add to any
Let me
existing
get rid of
Luminaire.
that. I would like to see a bigger projector. Just saying.
So all that being said, that's our shape there.
Why is that ugly looking?
I don't know. Probably could have cleaned it up a little bit. You want me to go back and clean it up?
No.
Okay.
We're gonna-
So we've got that saved. I'll save it one more time just because you can never save it enough times. Okay. So now we want to turn that into, we want to change that. So that's going to be our placement stitch. That component's been made, yes. And then we'll come back to Design Center, and then we're going to load that bad boy back up. And now you want
You're going to give it a satin stitch, but not the whole thing.
Not the whole thing. So what we want to do then, which part do you not want to have satin
Well,
stitch?
you got to visualize it. Part of these two sides, let me get up here. Okay. Part of these two sides here
Yep.
are underneath this
So-
tulip. So when we say give it a satin stitch,
it
gives it an entire satin stitch, and we only want the top of it to have a satin stitch.
Okay. So the curves are where the tulip is at, correct?
Yes.
So all I'm going to do then is take
I
my,
know my drawing isn't that good, so use your imagination.
and I'm
peeps.
going to, again, I'm just, if I had a mouse.
What he's doing is basically erasing part of this so that it won't assign stitches to it.
Yep. And then,
And some people will argue to me, oh my God, Becky, who cares if there's a satin stitch all the way around it?
and I'm going to leave
You
a-
can tell, especially if you stick an iron on your quilt at some point, you will see little ridges.
And I'm going to leave a little bit on the edge there, so
Yes.
so that it comes around, so it fills under
Yep.
the piece that's going over it.
Yep.
So I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to come back up here. We're going to change that. Again, we'll just use red, and we can change that later if we need to.
We gotta do a spinning wheel too.
Yep. So now that's set.
So we're gonna bring it in, and we're gonna show them where to get
Yep.
the thing.
I'm going to put that in memory.
Do we have all our names for a spinning wheel? Spinning wheel, spinning wheel. Eddie, do we have all our
Now,
names for a spinning
again,
wheel?
we're back here. Do we want to do that same thickness, or do you want to go a little bit lighter because of its position?
No, I say the same
Same
thickness.
thickness, okay.
Yeah. Again, because of the raw edge.
Yeah.
I don't want any raw edge issues.
Okay.
Nice. All
And now
right.
we're going to set that to memory. Yeah. Okay.
And we're gonna head all the way. Now, because he set it to memory, if you get over to embroidery and you're doing your first stitch out and you're not happy with the settings you used, it's very easy to go back and alter your settings.
Yes.
Otherwise, you got to start from number one, which isn't bad on this example, but if you get more into it, you're like, oh, why didn't I say that?
All right.
Okay.
So do you want to build this tulip real quick?
I do want to build a tulip.
Okay. So I'm going to start from scratch.
Yeah, go ahead and start from scratch.
Okay. And
Let's just build the tulip so we can show them how to assign the cut files.
So we're going to go into embroidery, right?
Mm-hmm. Go
And
into
then when I come
embroidery.
over here to our pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I say a bunch of stuff way too many times,
But
but
that's all right. So he's choosing the first thing. A good rule of thumb is the first thing you're going to want to stitch out, which is the bottom layer,
yep.
which is the inside of the tulip. Okay, guys.
Yep.
So it's that funny little thing.
The little funny one. Okay.
little funny
The last
one.
one we did is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And this is important. The order that you bring stuff in, you can change on Luminaire if I remember right.
You can.
But on the Dream Machine, you cannot. So you want to make sure that you bring stuff in the order that you want it stitched.
You're stuck. Yeah.
So we're going to set that.
Well, you're not stuck on the Dream Machine. If you happen to bring something in the wrong order, you can use your plus or minus needle button to
while you're
skip around.
Yeah, while you're embroidering.
Skip around the different steps manually.
Yes.
So you're not like stuck, but it's really not fun. And I always mess it up.
All
Okay,
right.
placement stitch.
And then
Yay.
so there's the first one. Do you want to do the next one?
Yep.
And so we're going to
No,
add.
I might do it in two different colors, so I would add the satin stitch to my thing. I have more than one color in my tulip. I have orange on the outside.
So you want to put
and yellow.
so you put the satin stitch on now.
I would.
Okay.
I would. I do. Here's my
Okay.
placement stitch. I might even do that twice if I'm saying I need a placement stitch and a tack down stitch.
yes.
In my world, I'm not using a tack down stitch.
Okay.
So one is
And there's
enough.
there's two ways to do that. You can bring that shape in again for if you want to do a tack down stitch.
Yeah.
Or you can use the edit. There's a copy function that will also do it without having to leave the screen.
Yes.
And what you can also do is just do it once, and if you feel you need another one, you can always just go back a stitch if you don't put two in.
This is sort of a turbo tip. I'm going to squeeze this in.
Okay.
This glue is, and it's this glue. It's not another glue. It is this glue. Scotch Repositional Glue Stick. Brent said, how about blah, blah, blah? I'm like, no. I've tried other glues. I'm sick of trying glues. I'm not trying any more glues. This is the glue stick I like. Repositional. It works on nearly everything. I discovered it in our macaw class. And I went, we're using it to stick paper on fabric. And I went, wait a minute.
You stick fabric to fabric?
Stick fabric to fabric. And it's so lightweight, and I don't have to, it's just a nice, easy tack. Watch, can I do a demo real quick, Eddie? Because I said, Brent, you've got to get some of this stuff. If I were doing an applique, okay, Diana, I shouldn't even be saying this out loud to you, because she has some bad habits with Frosty. But if you use this, when you're putting your Frosty pieces down, it's better than using your fingers to hold them in place. Because she refuses to use the iron until the bitter end. So she's sitting here going, and I'll tell you what,
stitching?
month 5 has some of the tiniest pieces.
Is she doing that
month
while it's
5
stitching?
is really taking me to a new level in digitizing, let me tell you.
But does she hold it down while she's stitching?
Yeah, she does one of these.
I'm just going to say that there's a lady that came through the shop
and I would
once
not
that had
do
her
that.
thumb bandaged up because she
Okay.
stuck the needle through the thumbnail and lodged it
I
into
want
the bone.
Okay, I want to show you how nice and easy this is. First of all, it's clear, but feel it. I just went.
Oh yeah, there's nothing there. Yeah.
But it's tacky.
Yeah.
See? I don't know if you guys can see.
Yeah, it's a little tacky. Yeah.
Okay, well, watch now. Now I just go, just nice and easy. It's not strong. Watch.
But it holds it down.
And it's water soluble. Soluble. But it holds it in place. And if you're really concerned about the edges, you put it. And I'm like, why aren't we using this?
Well, you are now.
Now, it's not strong enough for places where I would stick the fabric glue, where I really want to stick it down. But for stuff like a seam, I wouldn't use it for that. But for this, oh my gosh, it's just perfect for a little bit of tack.
Okay.
I should try this on my hoops.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I just thought of another idea.
Okay. Back to the project
Okay,
at
sorry,
hand.
but anyway. Brent, did you get it in yet?
It has not come in yet. No.
Okay, well, it's
Did
hard
it?
to
No.
find, impossible to find around here. So I said, Brent,
I will get some.
Get
Yeah,
some.
we have some on as well.
how did it not come in yet?
I don't know. I gotta find out.
Ah.
Sometimes when I order on the wrong side,
Okay.
it goes like a business thing. I
This
gotta
is
find
my
out.
new toolbox guide, right there.
All right. So next, we want to add the satin stitch. We're just gonna hit the add button down
It's
here,
going to be next week's quiz, guys.
and then we're gonna come here, and then we're just gonna grab one of our satin stitches,
Yep.
and I'm gonna hit set, and it brings it in the position where it was made, so it lines right up with what we've already got there.
Right now it does.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So now we want to add the tack down to the rest of the tulip.
Yep.
So we're going to hit add, and then I'm going to go here, and we're going to grab the tulip shape, and we're going to hit set. It's not where we want it, so we're going to come up here to edit, move. You can drag it if you want. I find the buttons to be easier to move things.
You also can enlarge your screen here,
Yep.
too, when you get really picky, but...
And it looks like I may have put, well, I don't know if I did. I may have put the satin stitches on the wrong side.
What do you mean? Oh, it doesn't matter for this
Yeah.
example. They can go over a few satin stitches is good.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I don't know if I, and so I'm up on the rotate.
You can rotate it a little too.
Yep.
Yeah. Just for this example, you can be fine.
But your move and rotate buttons come in really handy for
Which
this.
is why I always choose rotate instead of move when I'm in
Yeah. Because you get
edit mode.
because you
You
get the
can get both.
Yeah.
Same with your projector. Those part of the Luminaire Owners Club. On the projector, you can. Once you have it projected on here, which I haven't even shown them
Yeah.
much on the projector,
Well, we'll get to that.
but once it's on there, you can do the move and the rotate at the same time.
So we've got that kind of lined up.
Yeah.
And if you look close, you can kind of see. Let me go a little bit further just to show people what we're. And if you'll see that this placement stitch goes over our satin stitch a little
Which
bit.
is what you want.
Is what we want. So
It's
that
what you
yeah.
want. That is what you want when you're setting up your application.
Yeah, and you'll
you want
see-
those embroidery stitches
And the
just tucked
placement
in.
and that placement stitch of that centerpiece, it's not quite lined up, but it doesn't matter because we're going to
Doesn't
cover that
matter.
with the fabric.
Exactly, which is why I like the 3mm.
And then we're going to hit add, and now we're going to add the satin stitch.
Of which apparently he has many of.
Yeah. And then all we're going to do there is the same thing. We're going to go to rotate because that's, and then we're going to zoom in a little bit, make life easier. And then we're just going to drop that over the top of our other placement stitch. Now, if you have a stellar,
you're just going to bring them in on a JPEG.
yeah, I would say bring it on JPEG. Don't bother with the scanning because it'll be easier just to bring it in on a.
Yeah, I mean you can, but it's easier just to use a JPEG on
Yes.
it, Stellar. And we covered that, I think, the first time we started this. When you're in Design Center, one of the options you have is to take a JPEG right off your USB stick. So you don't have to scan in your line drawings, I guess is what I'm telling you. If you and this, if you see some artwork out there you like, and you can get it in a JPEG format, you're golden, you're good to go.
Now, what I've done, I came in, we might want to move that, I don't know, it looks all right.
It's for this.
You can see the placement stitch under this satin stitch when you blow it up. So you want to make sure that that is well within the boundaries of that satin stitch because that's going to have the edge of your fabric on there.
They can see it on the screen, yeah. See how it's like 50-50, that's what you're looking for, 50-50, normally.
Yeah.
Normally. So that looks awesome.
Okay, so do we want to change the colors? Because you said you wanted to do a different color centerpiece.
Mostly I want, because we're running out of time, I want to see the magic of setting it to an applique for a cut file.
Okay. And I'm just going to show this real quick. If you come over here, you can change.
Now, one of the things I run into, well, this is what we want for the cut file too, so you're good. One of the things I run into is people saying, I can't find it, Becky, where is it? I'll say, go scroll to the bottom of the colors, and they'll go to the bottom of Floriani, for instance, and they'll go, it's not here. I go, wow, what manufacturer are you in? Floriani. Well, that's why. There's only two places you're going to find this trick. One is if you use the Brother colors. You'll find it there. The second is this screen right here where it just says embroidery. So, yeah, there's not a...
Well, see,
it's on Country?
Well,
Make a liar out of me.
Well, Country is a Brother collection. Any Brother thread collection is what it's going to show up under.
Okay, you made a liar out of me, folks. I've only found it in two places.
So Madeira's not going to have it. Sulky's not going to have it. None of these are going to have, but Pacesetter Pro, oh no, that's not going to have it. Polyfast, Iris. But yeah, embroidery is just the generic.
Embroidery is really good for applique, only because it makes it easier to change your colors. Like I'll do all placement stitches in blue. My mind says, okay, blue is a placement stitch. That's how easy it is. In this case, Brent has selected, what's that, the
embroidery.
The placement stitch.
This is the placement stitch up here.
Okay, and right now you see it's a Floriani color. We need to change that so that when we save it, we get cut information. See those little scissors? That's the secret right there. See how there's now has scissors at the top of the screen?
Yep.
Up there?
And it changed it to yellow.
That is the key to when we save this thing, whether we save it to a USB stick first or we send it to wirelessly, which I'm not going to, demonstrate all that today. That fact that we have just changed it to those scissors, when you take this into your scanning cut, it says, hey, I need to cut that. Versus the satin stitch is going to ignore because there's no scissors on it. It's that easy. So now change your tulip.
And what color do I want to change that to?
Well, no, the tulip placement stitch is all I really care about.
Fine.
It will fall. Once we change it to a scissor. He's written fancy here. I want to do my Wheel of Fortune.
All right, so all we do is
Machine envy, Gene. Gene, there's a good deal going on.
So now
there's a great deal going on.
There is and so then we just change it to cut file. Now this cut will this cut is still going to stitch a regular placement stitch on your machine.
Yeah.
But when you export it to the scan and cut, it will.
What you're going to do is save. And you're going to save it, and it's going to save it as what we call an FCM file, just for if you get one on your stick and you go, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
That's the format that your scan and cut can use, and it will literally look through that file for those little scissors and say, this is what they need to cut out. Done. You want to embroider it, or you want to watch it embroider? I know, I do that all the time too. And there it goes. You see 1, 2. Isn't that cool, Brent? You just now obviously I could do the whole rest of it, but you can see.
Yeah, you can.
And now I can place that. Let's pretend you scanned in your block.
Yep.
Or your border.
Then you can scan it in and then place it.
And you can place that exactly where you want it to go.
And then you can turn the projector on to make sure that it's where you want it.
And place it right where you want it to be. So as you're doing borders, guys, guess what? You just keep.
Yep.
It's magic. It's magic, I tell you. Let's do a spinning wheel.
Yes. All right. So we're going to pick a winner.
We are? Winner. Oh, the spinning wheel. Where's my music?
Music.
Well, I need music with my spinning wheel. He said, the assistant's not here today.
Okay.
Okay.
That's spinning kind of slow.
Wheel. Spin faster, Eddie. Come on.
Yeah,
baby. There we go. Spinning wheel goes round and round. Go.
Yay!
Okay, I have a suggestion. They should mix up their names a little.
Yeah. Like it should be more random instead of an order like that. But okay. Yep. $10 gift certificate.
$10 GC. Spinning. She did good. She commented.
Yeah.
Woohoo! All right, awesome possum. Yeah, I need to see those names randomized on the wheel, Ed. Little homework for you.
More random.
Little homework for you. Yeah.
Yes, Kai, you can't do all of this cool stuff, true. But
so
we can
bring it on in.
We can do trade-ins and upgrades.
Upgrade,
just
baby.
It out there. But anyway, I guess that's everything we've got for today.
Yes.
Thanks for watching. Hope you all learned something. Join us next week for this 500 sub special.
We hope you had fun.
I'll even comb my hair for next week too.
Oh.
But thanks for watching. Sew on and be excellent to each other.
Toodles.